piss. Keep it simple, stupid.
I promise you, this is not a political podcast.
Jump from the deep end of the pool, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. Paranoid radio, set up the mood. 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 Set up the mood.
Check on your dudes, ladies and gentlemen. Check on your dudes. Dudes' lives matter. Testicles 1, 2, testicles. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Paranoid Radio Podcast. I'm your humble host. Not your homo host, your humble host for those fuckers out there talking shit. Trebles Garcia. That is right. Welcome back to this amazing adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check us out at paranoidradio.com and cop up one of those t-shirts for one of your boys in your life. For the real men out there. That is right. Men's Mental Health Awareness Month has already passed. Because it's such an amazing year, an amazing topic, and an amazing podcast, I am bringing in an amazing special guest. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. I have an amazing episode lined up. I want to let you guys know that this is not just a personal friend of mine. He's also a photographer. He is a fellow colleague of mine. And now I call him my fourth leg. That dude behind the fucking Christian scenes on Paranoid Radio Podcast. And he's huge because he has not only delivered the research for Judas, which is one of the top 10 episodes in Paranoid Radio Podcast, but also has delivered a lot of knowledge that I didn't hold before in a biblical standpoint. And quite frankly, bro, this is why now I believe that dinosaurs were real, but dinosaurs and humans existed in the same freaking time. And now I'm about to understand why the fuck Jesus is a time traveler. Holy fuck sauce, bro. Please welcome Juan, the homie Juan, the famous Juan, my only Juan, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That is right. This is my Juan. This is not Juan on Juan podcast, but this is my Juan. Ladies and gentlemen, Juan, welcome to the show, bro.
What's up, Trebles? Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, man, here we are, man. Finally got me on scene, huh? Got me in front of the camera.
Yo, it's a pleasure, bro. I've met you about almost a year and 2 months ago, and quite frankly, the first time I met you, I thought you were a freaking weirdo. I still think you're a weirdo. Don't get me wrong, but you're my weirdo now. And that's what makes it freaking beautiful, because now we could be weird together, bro. I'm not the only fucking weird soul out there walking around looking for research. And quite frankly, you're one of the few people that not only understands me, but also resonates with a lot of energy and a lot of thinking that we bring in to the table. And you're the one that taught me that wherever there's one or two people talking about Jesus, there's mass and there's the Holy Spirit is present. And dude, I've resonated with a lot of things you said. In fact, I also learned that the Bible is the oldest conspiracy book in the planet. It has sex, it has murder, it has cases, it has religion, it has fucking occultism. Bro, what other book in the face of the planet has more diversity in occultism than the Bible itself, bro, right? It's surrounded with darkness, and it's also outputting lightness. And you were able to bring that not only to me, but to the listeners on Paranoid Radio Podcast. Juan, let them know where they can find you, a little bit about you, bro. What's up with you?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can reach me at anybody has any particular questions. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be a Bible scholar. I'm not that. I'm just a regular Joe Blow Christian, wanting to love God, learning the Bible, learning the Word of God, but learning the specific truths about the Bible, because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of religion out there. And, they make a bunch of claims, there's a lot of weird stuff about, because Christianity branched off in a bunch of different weird sects. Right. Mm-hmm. And then mixed in with a lot of different occultism, a lot of different beliefs, a lot of paganism, just a lot of weird stuff that crept into the church. And so, for me, it's just like, just trying to, weed out all the mess, weed out what's real and what's not real, what's fact and what's fiction, Yeah. And so that's my thing. I'm a truther. I've always been a truther. I always want to get to know that. I mean, that's why it led me to be a Christian, because I grew up Catholic and I always had questions, because things got a little weird growing up as a Catholic kid. Word. And so, but yeah, I mean, if any questions for me, I mean, I had this particular email, but this one you can reach me at. The best one is it's Yeshua and the Father are one at gmail.com.
Whoa.
Yeshua and the Father are one.com.
Yeah. You know what,
Gmail.
bro?
Gmail.
Gmail. Yo, dude, it's very important to understand that, yeah, we're not coming in here as a religious, from a religious standpoint, or bashing on anybody that has their beliefs, but we are encouraging you guys to open up the Bible and find out your favorite passages. Find out what you mostly resonate. Quite frankly, I resonated with the story of Judas, and just recently I started resonating with the story of fucking Peter. I think he's gay. But that's not the point. The point here, which is there's a big conspiracy behind that. There's a reason why I think he's gay, guys. Now, hashtag look it up if you want to find out. Even that sex, like you said, another thing that the Bible has by the ton loads, right? So today we're going to be talking about someone that doesn't only have the power to manipulate the weather, but has traveled through fire. Yo, this is fucking huge, bro. This guy has Project HARP, HAARP, hashtag look it up, in his freaking pocket. Yo, today you're bringing in Elijah, the real story of Elijah. For those people that do not know, this is one of the biggest conspiracies out there, which is going to lead to another rabbit hole where Jesus time travels. What's up, Juan? Let her know. Start it off, bro. Who was Elijah, bro?
Well, Elijah was one of the prophets, back in the Old Testament. There's always, you see the history where God is always sending somebody to warn the people, to bring a message, to say, hey, either God is coming, God is, about to destroy something, you need to go, you need to do something, or there's the whole, whole city or a whole people, a nation of people need to repent, and God's always sending somebody. So Elijah was one of the prophets, right? Mm-hmm. And what's interesting about Elijah is that he showed up around 874 BC, right? Uh-huh. And that was years before. Well, you think about how time is, right? Time mm-hmm. starts at AD, and then BC. Anything BC, the numbers go.
Before Jesus died. Mm-hmm.
Right, before
so
Jesus.
Not
before Jesus died, but mm-hmm. before Jesus was born.
Uh-huh.
And so it's so AD is after. So because Jesus died at 33, around 33 years old. Mm-hmm. And so from that point in time is like, where we understand that, so it's just time revolves around. So because again, we got to say that the scriptures tell us that Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, right? Mm-hmm. He was there at the beginning. You see in Genesis when God mm-hmm. was creating mankind, and he says, let us make man in our image. Who is he talking to, right? It's like not just God by himself. He ain't talking to himself. He's talking to someone who was with him. So let's make man in our image. And who else came down and became man, which was Jesus, right? And so
that's huge. We're gonna touch that with Josh Monday because he blew it the fuck up in Genesis. He went out like, who the hell was God implying as our image, bro? That's just you up there. How many characters do you have? Are you schizophrenic? How many characters go through you, bro? But that's a very interesting topic. We're gonna let that for Josh Monday to break through.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. But Elijah again, these kind of like there's a pattern that God set up through Elijah because when Jesus stepped on the scene, there were a lot of parallels, a lot of similar things that Jesus did that reminded the Jews of Elijah. And so there was I think again, like we said, that he controlled the weather, right? Uh-huh. Here at the beginning, where Elijah steps up on the scene, he shows up in 1 Kings chapter 17, right? Uh-huh. And it just said he just appears. It says, and the word of the Lord came to Elijah. It says, Elijah the Tishbite, right? And Tishbite, it said from in Gilead, and so Gilead was a region east of Israel, So here's this town, little small town outside of. So that's where but he wasn't born there, but he was there. But he was from Gilead, right? Mm-hmm. And so it said, God tells him, it says, the Lord, the God of Israel lives, whom I serve. There will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word. Like, dude, he just steps on the scene, like tells everybody, yo, rain is done. No more rain till I say it rains. And
who the fuck is you, bro?
right? He just shows up out of nowhere, like, yo, God told me, y'all, hey, it's a done deal. No more rain. And so they're like, what?
Until I said so, bro. How about that?
How about that? Like, till I say it, not one drop is gonna drop till I say the mic drops.
Yeah.
You know, but then at that point, you see that, you know, it was more like I guess you say like a threat in a sense for the people. It was a threat that I guess God sent through Elijah to the people, right? And so because he did that, God told him, hey, get out of there, go hide yourself, go in the mountain. And you know, don't worry about it. And so when he went up there, he went to a solitaire. He went by himself.
Okay.
And while he was by himself, you know, you got to imagine this guy. He's by himself. He doesn't, you know, in the mountains. Don't know, you know. And so what God did was God would bring him. They had the crows. It says the raven. No, I'm sorry. It says, so he did, the Lord told him, he went to Kerith, a ravine. He went to a ravine, right? And then he says, east of the Jordan. So you will drink from the brook. So at the time, there was still water in a brook. You know how water streams in a brook? And so he told him to go drink some water from that brook. He said, I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So in the morning, he would get food. He would get meat in the morning from the ravens would come and drop the meat to him. He would eat. Drink water from the brook, and then at night, in the evening, the ravens will come bring him some more meat. So it would feed him. So he's depending on these ravens to come feed. So he's depending on God is feeding him, right?
It's very important that you point out the ravens bring the meat to you, because there's an evil saying. I think there's one of the biggest things that the devil wants to do to you, or at least in the Bible, or at least in religion and in church, is turn everything upside down that refers to Jesus. For example, the great I am, or as above so below, as above so within. And Satanism, they cannot go their days without understanding that they're always going to be in second place. So they try to provide. They know this. They admit it. They know that they have to be in the presence of Jesus in order to pervert everything that Jesus puts out. So the ravens bringing in food for this man that's going through not only an emotional instability in his life, that's supremely depressed, also says that the ravens are fucking smart, but they're not there to eat his eyes out like crows and other birds would do, right? Or they're not like vultures behind him to wait for him to die and then pick his brains out while he's dead. So this is huge, bro. It's huge. The way people depict ravens, crows nowadays is different.
Right. They're pretty smart birds. And crows as well. They're pretty smart too. Crows have the audacity to even go up against an eagle, bro. They
don't give a fuck, bro.
They're gangster. So that's right there. So again, he's by himself, solitaire, going through depression. Like, man, I just dropped a bomb on these people, and now like people hate me. They want to kill me.
What was the reason he held the 40 days and 40 nights of no rain, bro? Were they going through a punishment?
No, he went for 3 years, bro. 3 years, yeah. Because here's this king. Again, it's always the factor of a king disobeying God, right? God says allows his king. So a king is disobeying God. This king is allowing either his people to be taken over by either another country, another set of people will come in, and they'll bring their beliefs, their religion, their fake idols, fake gods will come into it. So God is
golden calf, Satan worshiping, sex without marriage, a bunch of the sins that he said not to follow.
Right, correct. So God, remember what he said, like, you know, God says in the Ten Commandments is like, hey, I am a jealous God. You should have no other gods before me. So here he is. So now he said, okay, I'm gonna send Elijah to tell the people, like, yo, I'm gonna put it down right now. And so 3 years are going by, right? And then during this time, well, to extent, he controlled the weather. So he just stopped the rain for 3 years, right? So people are pissed. The king is pissed. Like, yo, we got to find this Elijah dude. We got to see what's up. Why? We need some rain. Because again, the land is drying up. Everything is drying up.
So now they're in search for him to fix the freaking issue. Because only him calling it out will make it happen.
Right. So, but he's waiting for God to tell him when to do it.
Oh wait, so he goes into hiding, being fed by the crows while he's waiting for these people to come back to him. Like that is determination, bro. Oh,
yeah. So he's waiting, right? But again, you see the parallel, and then over in Matthew, chapter 8, verses 22 to 27, it says, this is where Jesus was in the boat, right? And think about it, bro. In the middle of a storm, right? Everybody's like, oh, the storm is coming. Everybody's in the boat. Jesus turns around and takes a nap. he's taking a nap, bro. He's like, oh, yeah. And everybody's freaking out. All the disciples, they're all freaking. They're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. The storm is just blazing. I can imagine the wind just blowing and the boat. It's like we're about to tip over, bro. And they're like, Jesus, wake up! Jesus, wake up! And Jesus got up, was like, yo, okay, they don't understand who's in the boat with them. Like, I'm not gonna let the boat capsize with me in it, bro. Like, chillax,
That's why I walk on water.
So he's like, yo. So he said, okay, let me show these dudes what's up. He calms the storm. The storm stops. So again, the parallel, Elijah stopping the rain. Here, Jesus stopping the rain as well, stopping the storm.
Okay. Okay.
So he's
and then that resonates after, because they even thought that Jesus was Elijah at a point. They were calling him Elijah. Oh, I hear you.
Correct, correct. So that's again there. He's very similarities. Like, is this? They're questioning. Like, is this Elijah coming back? Like, what's going on here? Because again, they know the story. This was 800 years before Jesus steps on the scene. Now it's like, okay, and then what here? So he multiplies bread, right? Jesus, when you know the story of Jesus, over in Matthew chapter 14, where he feeds 5,000 people, right? 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Bro, 5 loaves and 2 fish, right? And loaves back in the day was like, kind of so big, so round, but 5 of those and 2 fish, bro, to make, you could get like maybe 1 or 2.5 fish sandwiches, maybe, like, bro, to feed 5,000 people.
And that's gonna be some top quality, some fresh Alaskan salmon.
Right, the best of the best.
Oh shit!
But the miracle was he fed all 5,000, and they had food to spare. So
this is Elijah or Jesus?
No, this is Jesus, right? So again, remember the parallel. So 800 years before, God told Elijah after he was in the mountain because he couldn't get any more water because the water dried up, right? There was no rain. So he told Elijah to go meet a widow over in the city of Zarephath, right? In the city of Zarephath. And he met this woman, and it's a widow, and all she had, like I said, and then so he meets this woman, right? But he's like, woman, get me some water, get me something to eat, right? Go get me something to eat, right? And she's like, all I have is a handful of flour. Just imagine just a handful of flour.
Holy fuck.
And a little jar with some oil in it, right? Some olive oil. For some
reason, every single time you go like a handful of flour, just grab like a fucking bag of Coke. Anyway, I'm sorry, bro. Those are my addictions, people. Fucking A.
Right. But what he did was, what the miracle was, that God did through him was he told the woman, he's like, you will never run out. You will never run out. So every time she went for flour to make bread, but here's the catch. She had to trust him, right? He just showed up. God told him to go meet this woman.
Okay.
Don't know him from Jack. Never met him before. But he tells this woman, hey, when you make this bread, and can you bring it to me first? Right? And she's like, all we have is this flour and this oil. Like, and we're just gonna go home, make this one loaf of bread that we can with this leftover, and me and my son are gonna die after, because this is all we got. So that's how poor she was. But Elijah comes and like, look, yo, make me a bread first, come bring it to me, and then you can feed yourself and your kid. You know, you got to think about
she
that.
Had
like,
a handful of flour. I need to put some emphasis on this shit right
yes,
here. This dude walks back from the mountain because he stopped rain, so he can't drink water anymore. Now he's suffering through his own doing. So he's like, okay, well, fuck, Jesus, what the fuck am I gonna do now? And he's telling, right, God tells him, like, dude, walk down the path of the righteous, like he who split the water, make the water, walk on the water, make the water into wine. Don't trip, right? So he walks down the freaking mountain, and then he sees this random ass widow lady holding on to that fucking fistful of flour for her life, and maybe a little tiny cup of drenched little oil that she had ready to go get this bread and have her last supper with her
last meal with her son, right? And so it's got to think like how, like, she had, like, that was a trust issue. Like,
this is kind of like when they were traveling the desert, the freaking Jews were traveling the desert, and they had to believe in God to freaking make it rain, the animal, like, for them to eat and not put any in their pockets, and they had to have full faith that the next day God will provide again. The parallel.
Same thing. So
conspiracy.
So here it is again. God is providing. God, you know, every time she went to go get flour, there was always flour. There was always oil there. So whenever they were hungry, they never went without. And so again, the same parallel. Jesus, again, that's why they thought Jesus was Elijah.
What do you mean? While he was there and she was giving him the bread first, her fist never emptied, or what?
No. Well, it was in a jar. It was in a jar too. So yeah, it was in a jar. It says, "He said, the widow that's gathered, bring me a little water. The jar you have." Who's going? Says, "Surely is the Lord." Yeah, I don't have any bread. So I only have it was in a jar. It says here. It says, "I don't have any bread. Only a handful of flour in a jar." So it was in a jar.
Okay.
It was in a jar, and then a little olive oil in a jug. So you got to see like a jar of flour. And a jug, maybe like a little coffee cup, little Latino coffee, you know, like
the little tin ones. Yeah, remember that?
Little clay
ones. Okay.
A little jarito, right? A little jarito.
Oh shit!
Right.
So every single time she will make a bread, and she will come back, and there was more. She will make another bread. And there was more. So she would put her hands, but she had to go give the bread first to Elijah, and then come back, and then she'll have some more. She'll
have more.
Because I would have been like, fuck this fool, I'm eating my bread now. I'm eating all your cookies.
Right. So then a trip off of this, that while he's still there with her son gets sick, right? And her son gets sick and he dies. Right?
Okay.
So now she's like blaming him, like, oh, you know, my son is dead. Like, why? You know, like what wrong did I do? Why, you know, my son is dead.
And this is after she put full faith on God, because the flour kept producing. So she had full faith everything was going to be okay, and that God was on her side. And inside the son, God takes her son. Oh man, that's a twist.
Right.
All right.
God takes his son. So it's like, okay, but they're true. But that's like, and Elijah, you know, he consoled her. You know, he's like, okay. It says here, sometime later, the son of the woman who owned the house became ill, right? So he grew worse and worse and finally stopped breathing, right? He stopped breathing, so he died, right? She said to Elijah, "What do you have against me, man of God?" Like, he knew, you're a man of God. What do you have against me? Why? Like, she looked at it like a curse, like, oh, I'm cursed. Like, my son is dead. And so because she did that, and then it says, "Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son?" She said, "Give me your son." Elijah replied, "Say he took him from her arms, carried him in the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on his bed. Then he cried out to the Lord, 'Lord, my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow, even he questioned, I am staying with, by causing her son to die?'" He kind of questioned it, like, "What have you done, God? Why? I'm already depressed. I'm already depressed, right? So I'm like, and I got people looking to kill me, and now I'm with this widow, and her son dies on me. Like, what are you doing, God? Like, what are you doing?" Like, he's trying to understand, what are you doing? And so here it says, Elijah cried. It says, the Lord. It says, then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times. Again, 3 times. There's always a third time. So he cried out to the Lord, "Lord, my God, let this boy life return to him." So he asked God to bring him back to life. It says, the Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned to him, and he lived. Elijah picked up the child, carried him down from the room into the house, and gave him to his mother and said, "Look, your son is alive." So here, again, the parallel to Jesus, we have again, it was a dead little girl, 12-year-old little girl, that the mother came to her, was like, "Hey, my girl is sick." So, he's like, "Okay, I heard you. I'm on my way." While he was on his way, she died, right? And so here they are, they, like a funeral, they're singing or whatever, just doing whatever. He's like, "Get out of here. Just go." And he's like, and they're like, "Oh, she's dead. She's dead." He's like, she's not dead. He said, "She's asleep." She's like, "Wake up, get up and come." Again, that was the understanding. So there was a different understanding of dead in the Old Testament, because again, it's in the New Testament.
Is Jesus explaining she's not dead. She's asleep. This is after Elijah brought the kid back because they didn't think that death was just going to an eternal sleep, right? I get you. That they were just, okay, I hate it.
Yeah, so it's just so here he is. Jesus is like, "Look, yo, she's not dead. She's dead to you, but I can bring her back to life. To me, she's asleep. Like, okay, let me wake her. Let me grab her hand and wake her up. Rise again." And so here we are, the parallel again. Here's Elijah bringing a child back to life. Here's Jesus bringing a child back to life. So again, that's why they compared him to Elijah.
I have to break the ice. This is gonna be a little plot twist here, because it sounds like Elijah's doing some very, very important acts here that have been overlooked. I didn't even know about fucking Elijah until I heard about the movie called The Book of Eli, and I still didn't fucking research his name. I didn't know who was Eli or Elijah. I didn't even know what Elijah stands for until you told me that it stands for, don't correct me if I'm wrong, man of God, or for who? What is it again? The word Elijah means.
Yeah, the word Elijah, it means hold on, I'm gonna look it up. It's I believe it's a man of God, I believe. Hold on, let's see here.
For God I live, or in God I believe. Or in God man of God, I believe, I think.
Man of God, yeah. So man of God, basically like man of God, right? And so that's the word Elijah means, right? And so here we are, the same parallel, like, and that's it. At one point, Jesus questioned the disciples, like, who do people say I am? Because he kept doing miracles, but he kept telling them, "Shh, don't say anything." But when he healed the blind man, he told them, "Don't say anything." But then he went to the Pharisees, and they're like, "Yo, what's up with this dude? Like, he's been blind ever since birth. All of a sudden, he can see now." And he told him, "It's like, this dude Jesus just healed me. He touched my eyes. He spit in my eyes, and I could see."
Wait, Jesus hot-toed this guy? Wait.
Yeah. Game over. No, but he spit in the mud. He spit in the mud and he put the mud on his eyes, bro. But it was in his eyes, bro. It was in his eye.
It's in my eyes. Oh, that is fucking. We're talking about bukkake, bro. That was fucking, mad craziness with Elijah, dude.
But yeah, but then so then that's another thing that's kind of similar. That's kind of like the thing that is similar to Jesus. And then so there's three things. He controlled the weather.
Mm-hmm.
He multiplied bread, so that people can eat. Mm-hmm. And he raised the dead. And then we have later on we have the mystery of the transfiguration, right? Over in Matthew.
This is before that.
Yeah.
There's a thing about Elijah, the way you open up the our little Bible daily talks that we have at work. Mm-hmm. And the reason that did really help me push this topic onto the show was this son of a gun stood against every single high priest ever imaginable, and the highest of ranks against himself. And he brought them all, and they were all worshiping Baal, which is Baal. Like, I know him as Baal. The same freaking guy, the same freaking horned ox that you would bring your summer solstice born kids in the winter, so that they could so that during the spring you'll have all your freaking fruits growing and your vegetables grow. According to this Saturnalia worshiping bullshit that I learned, I found out that from you that this guy put them all to the test and told them, yo, how about all of you guys pray to your God and make this firewood turn on? So they were dancing all around this fucking.
Well, right. So yeah, even this is one of the craziest stories, right? That's been told. It's like, look, yo, it's 3 years, right? 3 years have gone by. They're out looking for this guy Elijah. Like, let's go find this dude. We gotta. He's the one that stopped the rain. Let's go make sure we find him so we can stop the rain, right? But then at this point, remember I told you that it's always something that the king does that pisses God off, right? And what they did was they destroyed the altar where to worship God, right? They destroyed it. And so he's like, okay, all right, I got you. And so Elijah said, okay, go meet me on Mount Carmel. They found him. They found Elijah, right? Because
this is after the 40 nights of no sleep. I mean, no rain.
Yeah. When he was no. This is like close to the cusp of the 3 years, right?
Okay.
And so he's like, okay, so they found him. So they were looking for him. They were looking all everywhere for him. He had this guy. I forgot his name. Was it Horeb? One of his men, one of the king's men, right? Was out looking for him, right? He's like, dude. He's like, we've been looking for you everywhere, dude, and I can't go back and tell the king I found you and not bring you back, bro. Like, I got to bring you back. And so he said, okay, go tell the king to go take all of his prophets that worship Baal, right? All of your 400, it was like 450 prophets that not prophets, but guys that priests. I'm sorry, 450 priests that worship Baal, right? Told him to go meet me on Mount Carmel, bring 2 calves, and we're gonna have a like, I guess you say, a prayer off,
a ritualathon.
A ritualathon, like we're gonna see who is really God, right?
Yeah.
And so they meet him at Mount Carmel, right? He said, okay, go ahead, because that's the thing. So they would cut up the calf or whatever, the animal, cut it up, put it on thing, and get ready to. He said, okay, do that, cut it up, but don't use any fire. He said, and now go to your God and see if your God can make the fire ignite to burn the calf. So they start doing their thing. They start doing their dance.
They started doing their dancing. They started doing all the fucking blood sacrifice. And across their fucking chest, they started like fucking each other, doing whatever the fuck it is that they do. but fucking crickets, man, nothing happens. So this is okay in the morning time, right? About noonish. Okay, so about 12 o'clock noonish, right? Okay. So here is so it says here at noon, Elijah began to taunt them, right? He's like,
He's laughing at him like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, here we go. He's
Yeah.
like, shout louder. he said, surely he is a God. Perhaps he's in deep thought. Maybe he's thinking of something. Maybe,
Yeah.
Then he says, or maybe he's busy. Maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's out somewhere else in the world. Maybe he's traveling. He said, maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's taking a nap. Your God is taking a nap. He must be awakened. So that's what they started. They're like, "Oh, you tripping out, dog." So we're like,
"Oh yeah." So they started going
turn
harder.
They turn up, right? They turn up. They're like, "Yo, we doing all out, right?" So he's like, okay, I see what you guys are doing. All right, okay, all right. Calm down.
I respect you guys' commitment. They're committed to this fucking gun, bro. I hear you, dog. I hear you. They would fucking cut themselves open for that shit.
Right. So then he said, okay. He said, all right. He said, by the way, okay, let's go ahead. Let's fix back the altar that got you guys destroyed because this is for my God. Okay, let's bring back the altar. He said, okay, let's bring the calf. All right. He said, okay, go ahead, pour some water on the calf. So they pour the water. Okay. Wait. Bring another pail of water. Here we go. Another pail of water. Okay.
Two pails of water.
Brother. Keep it coming. So third time they just so much that it like filled up around it. So it's like there's no way
drenched in water.
Western water, the wood is wet. Fire doesn't burn
at all
with water, right? So he's like, okay, all right. Is it wet enough? All right, cool. So then he goes. So then the water says at this time the sacrifice says let it be known today. It says at the sacrifice of the prophet Elijah stepped forward and prayed, says, Lord, the God of Abraham. So there he goes. He's acknowledging the God of Abraham, right? It says, Isaac and Israel said, let it be known today that you are God and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. It says, answer me, Lord, answer me so that these people will know that you are Lord, you are God, and you are turning their hearts back again. So again, God is trying to win their hearts back because their hearts have left him. They want to worship Baal instead of worship the true God, right? And so then he says, it says, then the fire of the Lord, it says, It says, then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the soil, all licked up with water in the trench. It says, when all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, the Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God. Then Elijah commanded them, seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let anyone get away. They seized them, and Elijah had them brought down to the Kishon Valley and slaughtered there. So all 450 guys that professed
after they had slaughtered themselves for hours.
Right.
He's like, killed. Yeah.
So God just comes through, right? Fire comes down, bam, it destroys everything. The water, the wood, the rock, everything. Boom. Everything's on fire. Boom. And it's like, all right, see, I proved to you, I worship the true God. So he's like, yo, get all 450 men, gather them all up, kill them, get them, don't let them get away, kill them all.
Damn. Holy fuck. And with fire, he is also departed, walking down the road with his son. And I'm trying to kind of push it to the last few comments of this episode.
Right.
This guy comes in out of nowhere, walking with his son, a tornado of fire with horses in a chariot swing down. And I'm not fucking lying here. This is exactly what this guy told me from the Bible's horse's mouth itself. Dude, there's a freaking fire and the chariot picks him up, swoops him up, and dips out.
You're right. Well, this is when Elijah was walking with, I guess you say his pupil or his next thing to
protege.
Want to follow in his footsteps, right? He said, okay, so it's Elijah and then it's Elisha. And Elisha was the next one to follow in his footsteps, So now God was like, yo, yeah. So Elijah, when it says here, it says, when the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in the whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. Elisha said to Elisha, stay here. The Lord has sent me to Bethel. It says, but Elisha said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So they went down to Bethel. It says, the company of the prophets of Bethel came to Elisha and asked, do you know what I was going to take your master from you today? So he already knew that today was the day. And then so Elisha said to them, it says, let me skip down a little bit. It says, as they were walking along talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah saw this and cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. And Elisha saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garment and tore it in two. So he witnessed it with his own eyes. It's like chariot of fire come and scoop him up with the horses. The horses were on fire. Like it was just a chariot of fire. Like it scooped him up in a whirlwind and just took him away.
That is fucking wicked, bro. That is wicked. That is wicked, bro. And I remember when you told me the first time you told me this, the story had a bigger reaction. I had to look it up. Just the AI images that they have, the AI video, that is wild, bro. Because there's so much more stories in the Bible than just the resurrection and the crucifixion of Jesus and the Jews sniffing the tips of penises and probably keeping Jesus's penis's tip out there in the world today. Someone has Jesus's foreskin, bro. He was a Jew. Hey, it's not too far to reach, bro. But no,
somebody's got it.
Somebody's got it. I'll be honest with you, bro. That is probably one of the biggest conspiracies in the world. Aside from Judah seeing this dude pull money out of a fish's mouth to pay for taxes, after Peter saw this dude walk on water, bro. Like this guy, the drama and the impact that is included in the Bible today defeats any other conspiracy topic out there. As a matter of fact, I think it is the mother of all conspiracy topics, because through there, we just found out that time itself, like I've always been saying, who controls time, not only when to plant your seeds, when to harness your seeds, when to cut the watermelon open, when to go to work, when to take a shit, etc., etc. He who controls time is the real liar and has controlled your body, has controlled your belief and who you are. So at this point, it proves that the story of the dinosaurs, that the story of the ice ages, the younger, the older dryas, all the things that have happened around the world, it shows that time is irrelevant to God, but it's also constructed and perverted by man. And this is wild, bro. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So again, and then we come to the story of the Transfiguration. Like, yo, it's one of the wild. It's like just out of the blue. Like Jesus, like, yo, he called Peter. I believe he called John, Peter, James, and John. You know, and they led him up to a high mountain, right? And so here, what they witness is Jesus kind of gets transformed in a sense. Like he starts glowing, like you just see like the brightest light you can ever think of. Like you're staring at the sun, you know, and just like so he turns to white, and all of a sudden they see two figures show up with him. Like you see Elijah and they see Moses show up with him, and they start conversating with Jesus, right? But not only do they start conversating with Jesus, so here the let's say not say the conspiracy, but the theory is that at that moment when Elijah showed up and Moses showed up, you look at back in the scriptures, Elijah went to a mountain to communicate with God. Moses went up to the mountain to communicate with God. So
was it the same mountain?
I believe it was a different mountain, but it was a high mountain. I believe it was a high mountain. So, but it had to be a high mountain in order to be able to speak to God. But they both went to a mountain, went to go talk to God. You know, remember, because Moses went up to see the burning bush, right?
And even Moses wasn't able to see God in the face. Elijah wasn't able to see God's face either. Right. All he saw was his backside. And then Moses was only to see his backside of his glory.
See his glory. It was glorious,
Oh, shit.
But yeah, but just to even that, but there at that particular moment, again, the theory is like the people are putting it out there that you know how I don't know. Again, I know you don't watch movies much, but hear how in Loki it talks. There is the theory of the different. What is it called? Different timelines, basically different timelines, and how he steps in and out of different timelines, and if you mess with this timeline, it's a different timeline than this timeline. This messes up this timeline.
They'll
so
branch
it's like,
out.
they all branch out, right? And so the theories out there right now is that at that particular moment, Jesus tore through time and to talk to Elijah and Moses at the same time they went to go talk to God. So that, again, that's why they say that Jesus was time traveling. He was dictating the time when these two men went up to talk to him, and they were seeing that. So it's like
we're missing something here. We're missing something here. In the Bible, there's only two people that has ever spoken to him in a transfigure. Only two people in the entire Bible, right? Which is Moses and Elijah. Okay.
Moses and Elijah.
They both saw him at a mountain. Then they both came back and delivered a message from God. All right. They both weren't able to see directly into his face. They had to look down, and the light was too powerful. And then they both saw the backside of his glory. Okay. So during this time, holy fuck. What will really unite this theory is if it was the same mountain. And then we will need to see the time, how much time the difference from Elijah to Moses. Right. Because Jesus still wasn't born. This is way before still Jesus.
Way before Jesus was born. So again, that's what makes it, again, it's the theory that's put out there that maybe he ripped through time and bought that time, these 800 years, because again, 800 years was from Elijah to Jesus. And I believe it was like 900 or 1,000 years when Moses' time. So here's these two time frames, and they both came together to meet Jesus on the mountain. So
for similar purposes,
right? But at that particular moment, right, when he did that, they heard a voice. There was another voice that they heard, and it says, while he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them. So now it's a bright cloud that covered them, right? So they couldn't see now. It was like a mist or something. Some bright cloud covered them, right? And it says, while they were still speaking, a bright light covered them, and a voice from cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love." They heard this distinct voice.
Hold the fuck up. Wait. Hold the fuck up. There it is. That's the point I was telling you. What connects these two dudes? Why is it that? Who was it, dog? Who was it, bro?
It was God, the Father. God, the Father was basically telling everybody, "This is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." So when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came down, touched them, "Get up," and he said, "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus.
It started with God, and this is before Jesus was born, physically, man, right?
Moses, Elijah, Moses, Elijah, way before Jesus was even born. Wait.
Elijah and Moses. Fuck, I don't want to fucking make this longer than I have to. Elijah and Moses were I'm missing a point here. You skipped something. Fuck. Wait. Elijah, I need to understand it. Elijah and Moses were at the fucking thing, praying or talking to God.
Talking to Jesus. Jesus, right? They went to talk to Jesus, right?
Okay.
But in the Old Testament, they went to God. Because again, remember Jesus said, "The Father and I are one." Jesus made that statement.
That's when he concretes it. So when he came down to them, he came down as Jesus to them. I'm missing the point.
Well, you got to see. Again, then they heard the voice. When the cloud came down, they heard the voice of God the Father. So again, it's the whole. It's the
No, there's okay. My math does not come up right.
okay.
They were there for God.
Hmm.
God didn't let them see their face.
Right.
And then God told them, the cloud moves in.
Hmm.
And then the God tells them, this is my son. Listen to him. He's done
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
But Jesus wasn't born yet.
No. This is on the transfiguration. On the
This is what
transfiguration.
the prophets, the disciples saw.
No. Listen what I'm saying. At the transfiguration, because remember the prophets they held the prophecies of God to foretell of the Jesus coming, right? Because the scriptures say, they longed to see my days, because then Jesus says to the Pharisees in I believe it's over in John, no, sorry,
This is
Matthew
the
8
third
and
event.
10.
Are you talking to me about a third event? So
Yeah,
Elijah happened, then Moses happened, and then a third event
no,
after
Moses
Jesus.
was first. No, Moses was first.
Okay, Ten
Right?
Commandments.
Remember Moses first, and then remember he split the water.
Okay.
Split the water, and so he's leading the people, right? Because again, where were they at? They were in captivity. They were under Egyptian captivity, and so God sent Moses to be the one to be the prophet, in a sense, like to be the one to save Israel, right? At the same time. So again, Elijah, the parallel of Elijah, he did the same thing. He wanted people to go back to God, come back and have a relationship with God,
So
because God.
Moses first, Elijah after, and then the transfiguration was after.
Yeah, correct. They both showed up. So
The
I don't like.
transfiguration was an event that happened to the disciples. That's what I'm trying to understand here. This is a
Correct.
third event.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm fucking dull. I'm sorry. So Moses happened. You have all these events, and then you have Elijah that came up. All these events happened. This is the second time that he's spoken to. You can't see his face.
Right.
But when the transfiguration happened, you had all the disciples that were brought there.
Correct.
And they saw three figures. It was God, and then two other people conversating with God.
Well, it was only three people. It was Peter, John, and James.
Okay.
Three people. Peter, John, and James were the.
And then they saw
Jesus start glowing, right? And then they saw Elijah and Moses show up.
And they were chopping it up.
They were chopping it up. They couldn't hear the conversation. I don't know what they were talking about. But and then a cloud came over them. And then they heard the voice of God says, "This is my son."
But they had seen three original people chopping it up.
The three of them popping it up. But when they heard the voice of God, they got so scared that they just put their head down. They're just like.
And then it was, "Don't be scared. This is." And then it was Jesus.
And then
so
Jesus
this is what connects. So they were probably, he was having the same meeting with Moses, Elijah, when he had the transfiguration third event meeting with the three disciples, which is Peter, John, and James. Holy fuck. Now I see why they're saying Jesus time traveled, broke through three of these events through the hundreds of years, and then broke down and then came told the disciples, "Don't trip." I'm God.
Yeah. But that's the theory, because again, but that's one last thing that I wanted to tell you before we cut off. It says here, Jesus replied, "To be sure," it says they asked the question, it says the disciple asked him, said, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" It says Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, where he already came, and they did not recognize him." They had to try to understand what was happening before them. And it's just like, okay. So then again, when later on, when Jesus asked the question, like, who do people say I am? I said, "Oh, they say you're Elijah. Come back again." It's like, no.
He made it very clear that he was,
that he was not Elijah.
Yeah.
And so that again, so he showed himself, he revealed himself who he was in small increments. In small increments, he showed who he was.
And through a lot of metaphor and parallels, bro, because it took a lot of freaking, and still to this day, so many miracles that has gone through in and out of the Bible have came to pass, and people are still rejecting the idea of the creator. And that is insane. Yo, Juan,
Yeah.
let them know
Yeah.
again, bro, if they have any questions where they can find you. Oh, yeah.
For sure. They can hit me up at Yeshua and the Father are one at gmail.com. Again, Yeshua and the Father are one at gmail.com.
Yo, that is Joshua and the Father R1 at gmail.com. Make sure you let them know. Yo, you guys have anything to ask and you want to make it a little clear. If I made this shit confusing because I'm dull as fuck, make sure you hit them up. Ladies and gentlemen, you're also going to be able to find them on the drop down menu on paranoidradio.com. Do not forget to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It allows other people to enjoy the show. As much as I enjoy making it, Juan, the only Juan for me. Thank you so much for spending this time here and donating a little biblical scholar view of time traveling Jesus, and also the mighty Elijah, bro, from controlling the weather to bringing people back from dead. He did it all, guys. Make sure you check him out. Yo, Juan, you're one of the best people I know, bro. One of my favorite human beings still to this day. So I pray for you, bro, and thank you so much for being here, dude.
Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you for having me on, bro.
Awesome, bro.
Paranoid Radio.